and welcome to another Foodie Friday episode here on the Garden Gallery channel. If this is your first time coming over to my channel, thanks for coming over, and I appreciate you watching this video. And if this is if you're a return visitor, welcome back and thanks for coming back. So I'm gonna make my butternut squash soup today. It's mid-April, and that's not usually the time of year I'm even thinking about winter squashes, to be completely honest. It's more of a fall when we're harvesting the winter squashes, and winter time is when we cook with them, or me anyway. But it's what I had on hand, and this weekend is definitely going to be more winter-like weather where I live. And it's not going to feel very much like spring. We're actually, we have some snow in the forecast. So it got me thinking about soup, which we love in my home. So I'm going to make this butternut squash soup for you. So butternut squash is a winter squash, and it'll keep for up to a year. I'm going to put in the description a link to a YouTube channel where this gal does a review on butternut squash that was awesome. And I think if you're interested in butternut squash and growing it and storing it and learning about butternut squash, that you would enjoy that video as well. So I'll link that down in the show or in the description. But butternut squash is really good for you. It's very similar to pumpkin if you're not familiar with it. One thing I make with it during the holidays is butternut squash pie, which is better. It's even better than pumpkin pie. Maybe I'll make that on another episode. It's easy to grow. It stores really well. It is very nutritious. It's full of vitamin A, actually, potassium, some calcium, a little bit of protein, some fiber. It's just a great healthy food. So I'm gonna get this roasted up and show you my method, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I debated if I was going to even cut this butternut squash up on camera, because I don't have a very good knife and it's not a very graceful process. But at least when I do it, it's not. See what I mean? I didn't cut it very well. But if you're seeing this, I obviously decided to go for it and cut it up on camera. So I'm just cutting it in half, and I do wish I would have, and you could, I actually might save those seeds. I was gonna say you can save those seeds and roast them. Because I'm a major homebody these days, you know what? I'm gonna save these seeds, and I'm gonna roast the seeds up. You can roast them just like you roast pumpkin seeds. So I'm gonna do that. It's not gonna be very many because I only have this one butternut squash, but what else do I have to do this weekend when it's snowing? Anyway, so you just clean out your squash. See what I mean? I'm just not a very graceful cook. So that is that. I'm gonna save, and then this stringy stuff, I'm gonna get rid of some of that. I'm gonna set aside my seeds, and then just finish digging some of this out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know where I actually got this squash? I don't think this was anything I grew. Actually, I'm sure it isn't anything I grew. I got this from this Amish lady in Iowa. I was over there working last fall, and I'm sure this is one of the ones I got from her stand. And she wasn't actually there, nor was her husband. She had all these kids though. And I was wheeling and dealing on the squash with her son. He was a good man. We were bartering because I only had like, I had like $2 and then I had some quarters. And we were wheeling and dealing on these squash. And anyway, I was impressed with his bartering skills. Yeah, I have grown these for many, many years, but I didn't grow them last year. And then I used to get some from my neighbor too, and my neighbor passed away. We would trade. I would give him tomatoes, and he would, no, I take that back. I wouldn't give him tomatoes. This is my neighbor. He would come over with tomatoes, and I always have grown a whole bunch of tomatoes, and I never, unless I have major crop failure, but never really needed tomatoes. But he would bring tomatoes and butternut squash over, and I always took the squash because I could freeze it, and I didn't always have a lot of butternut squash because I had a dog that sometimes would raid my garden and decimate my squash population. Yeah, I miss that dog, even though she drove me nuts sometimes. Anyway, he would give me butternut squash and tomatoes, and I always took the tomatoes because he was so proud of his tomatoes. And then I would bake him cookies. I would bake him chocolate chip cookies or pie. Sometimes I would make him a peach pie. I miss that guy. That was our one connection. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm just putting olive oil, salt, and pepper on these. Whether I grew them or not, or got them from my neighbor, or in this case, I got them from a stand over in Iowa when I was working over there one time. I always get a lot of butternut squash in the fall, and I make up a bunch of this soup. But I ate it all. We ate it all in the winter, and I had another squash left over, so this will be good this weekend. So olive oil, salt and pepper, and I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven, just like this, and roast it off. And then while that's roasting, we're going to work on some of these other veggies. Okay, so I'm going to get this isn't a very good looking carrot here, but I'm going to get the carrots. I like to roast the carrots too because, it's a root vegetable and it really deepens their flavor as well. And then I'll just cut up and saute the rest of the veggies. I'm kind of excited to try that, roasting those seeds. I'm doing a lot of things these days that I don't have time for normally, but it's kind of fun. I'm keeping busy, and I've gotten some great feedback from some folks on some of my recipes that I shared. And my daughter, she actually made the rosemary focaccia bread, and she said she had such a great time making that recipe. And oh man, she made my day when she sent me a picture. She goes, "Look what I made." It just warmed my heart so much. She's getting in the kitchen, and you know what else she's doing? She's starting to garden. She's young. She's like 19, but she's starting to garden. She's putting together a raised bed and growing some seeds. She got some herb seeds, and so nothing makes me happier than that. I just think it's real important that we encourage the younger generations to learn some of these skills, gardening and even raising livestock, you know, how to cook, bread making, how to, you know, do some of these things, you know, where they kind of think a little deeper about where their food comes from and how to make their food, grow their food. So that all makes me happy. Okay, I'm gonna salt and pepper these. I do like to use fresh cracked pepper. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in the oven until they're soft. It takes about 20 minutes, 30 minutes at 400. Okay, so I put those carrots in the oven and I'll set a timer for about 20 minutes. I'll check them. So I'm gonna dice up my, I need to get this going. This is my Dutch oven back here. I have that. I'm gonna set that at medium heat. And then I'm gonna dice up my celery and my garlic and my onion. Very therapeutic. Chopping vegetables for me, I tell you the number one thing, number one, bar none, is for me to walk out to my garden, get some fresh vegetables and fresh herbs, bring them in the house, and make a meal. I absolutely love that. And then second to that, I love dicing up vegetables. I suppose I could have been a sous chef for sure. I like it. I like doing this. I wish I had better knives right now. And these don't have to be super small. They can be a little chunkier because I'm just gonna soften them up, and then I'll show you later how I put the soup together. But I wanna give them a little bit of a chop so my tools don't have to work quite as hard. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in my Dutch oven, get that going. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I can push those to the side and get my onion going. That's something else I have to get outside and plant. I haven't grown onions. I've grown leeks. I grew some great leeks last year, but I haven't grown, you know, these kind of onions for many years. I used to grow all that stuff all the time, but I haven't done it for years, and I don't know if I'll even get to do it this year, but I bought a bag. They were, you know, a couple bucks, and I figure if I don't use them all, I do have a friend that does farmer's market, and I'll just give them to her. I might even con her into taking care of my garden if I'm not around. I don't know how that's all gonna go yet. But anyway, so I'm just gonna chop up this onion, just a yellow onion, this holy trinity as they call it. And this soup is very versatile. You could add green pepper or even hot peppers if you so desired. Whoa. I have a friend that, I might have said this in another episode, I don't remember, but I have a friend that grows the best garlic. She grows soft neck, she grows the elephant, the great big ones. Oh dear, I'm gonna open this up. Yeah, they call me Grace. Oh my God. I'm gonna roast up the rest of that. So you might not wanna split a garlic apart the way I just did, but I'm gonna roast the rest of this head of garlic. So anyway, okay, I've got 3 cloves of garlic here. Get those diced up, and I actually don't need to dice those at all on second thought. I just need to split them out a little bit and cut off the little cut that off. I might cut that one in a couple chunks. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to saute them in olive oil till they're soft, you know, 5 minutes or something like that over medium heat. Okay, so I went out to my fresh herb stash, otherwise known as my arrow garden area. Well, actually, the only one I still have in my arrow garden is my parsley. The rest I have transplanted, but they all got started in that arrow garden. And these are some of the herbs that I'm gonna put in my soup. Hello, back. Okay, so we're gonna pull the squash and the carrots. They should both be done out of the oven. I'm gonna test. Oh yeah, it's very soft. Okay, so this has to cool for a little bit. So I'm gonna set it over there and let it cool. The carrots, interestingly enough, some of the little ones are done. So I can easily put those in the soup. Some of those big ones are still, I should have split those. This is a great example of a roasted carrot in my opinion. Oops, that. See, it has a nice caramelization on it, which means flavor. So I'm gonna put some of the little ones in there, and I'm gonna, oh, these are gonna be good. But I'm gonna spread them out, and I'm gonna stick this back in the oven for a little bit. I can't believe those carrots aren't done yet. I'm gonna give them another 10 or so minutes. I wanna wait a little bit on this squash, but I wanna get going, so I'm gonna just scoop out what I can. You know, you want to be careful because these just came out of the oven and they're really hot, but it's so soft. See that? See how easily that's coming off of there? And you just want to take all that pulp and put it in your soup. Okay, our carrots are about done. Hello again. I wanted to show you how I finished scraping. Oh, there's the carrots, but yeah, I got most of the pulp off there. So that's done. Oh yeah, the carrots are good to go. Wow, that steam out of the oven was hot. Anyway, yeah, they got some great caramelization on them. So in the pot they go. Okay. Okay, I hope this video, the angle is decent. I'm gonna add some seasoning. I'm gonna add some celery salt. just to taste, and I've been cooking long enough now. I know how much just different things to add. Here's onion powder. I am a big fan. You'll see it in almost any recipe I do. And some granulated garlic. I've called it garlic powder in the past, but I rarely use garlic powder. I usually use granulated. I suppose if we were measuring this out, you know, everything's about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, something like that. Okay, so there's some seasonings, and then I'm gonna add some of this, the Better-than-boullion. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of this vegetable bouillon into a couple cups of water, because I don't have any liquid vegetable stock, and I really want that deep vegetable flavor. And most of the time I make this soup vegan. That's usually what I do. Okay, I'm going to turn this on about medium. Okay. Then I'm going to add some unsalted. I always get the unsalted chicken stock, and this brand, the Kitchen Basics, is far and away my favorite, because if you look at the ingredient list, it doesn't, the thing I look at is it doesn't have yeast in it, and I try and limit yeast wherever I can because I have kind of an intolerance to yeast. Yeah, I like beer. So I don't want it in my chicken stock so I can have it in my beer. No. Anyway, that looks like a really good amount of liquid. If you need more, you could add some more. You know, I'll know once I start pureeing this up. But I'm going to bring this up to temp. Okay, so while the soup is coming to a boil, we are going to roast off those seeds. You remember those seeds? We're going to put these in the oven. I put them on a sill mat, okay, so they don't stick. And I'm going to roast them in the oven at about 275, 300, a little bit lower temp, for about 15 minutes. Okay, sounds like it's to a boil, and it is. So I'm going to add in a few more of these fresh herbs, and this is all to taste. It's not mandatory. I want to make sure I get all that rosemary in there. A lot of times I use dried herbs a lot, especially in the winter, but I had all these fresh herbs and I wanted to use them, so added some of those in. And get this out of the way. You see that? I'm going to stir those in. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, we're getting near the finish line on this one. It's a really pretty soup too when it's done. And so the next step is simply blending it, and you can do it one of a few ways. You could put it into a food processor or a blender, or you could leave it chunky if you want a chunky soup. I mean, it's up to you. But the way I like to do it is with an immersion blender. If you don't have one of these, they're great. And you just start blending it to the texture that you desire. Here's what I was gonna show you. Look. Ta-da! My chives came back in this barrel that I have on my deck. I was excited to see them. I've got regular and then garlic. So I'm just gonna take some of these. Oops, I'm gonna cut them. And I'm gonna take a handful. And we are going to garnish our soup. Really, really pretty. Yeah, listen to the wind. It's terrible out there. Okay, so I got some of the chives here, and oh, you know what that is? That's the seeds. Ta-da! These are gonna come into play. Where can I set them? Okay, so I took some of the chives and I was debating how I was gonna garnish with these. There's a lot of ways you could do it. All things I wouldn't even be thinking about if it wasn't for our very interesting situation. But there you have some chives. Okay, so let's take a look at this soup. I got it, I pureed it for a few minutes to get it to the texture that I wanted, and then I let it simmer. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna get a bowl because I am gonna have a little taste test, and I'm gonna show you how I garnish this. I have a recipe, I don't remember where I got it, probably Food Network. But anyway, for this chipotle sour cream that's really good in this soup. But I don't have any sour cream. So I'm gonna go a little more traditional. I'm gonna take some of those seeds and garnish with that and a little bit of the chives. There you have it. My roasted butternut squash soup. We are eating good tonight. Much to be grateful for. Thanks for watching. Bye.